There are more sheets over here if anyone needs more copies. I don't know if they're still going on in there. Are they still, is this still happening? Okay. So that's probably good.
You've heard the children outside probably.
All right.
Yeah, I might. No, that's okay.
All right, so first of all, thank you today. Thank you to tonight's sponsors, to Rabbi Yisrael Blumen, for dedicating the L'chaims in memory of Mr. Bill Zev Shmuel Ben Yisrael. Zichron levrach, we hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the brachas, in Meretz Hashem's neshama should have an aliyah. Amen. And of course, we'll say general shkach to Steve for always organizing and for the excellent satellite view of the shul in the picture today. That was Google really Google Maps. That was great. It was great, incredible. It's so nice, Baruch to be back with everyone. A very special welcome, Rebbe Yehuda Lerner, who's back just for Pesach, right? Back for Pesach. Everyone knows Yonah. Mamish Rabbi Yonah is like a staple of the shir. He's one of the pillars of the shir, and his brother Yehuda Baruch Hashem was learning in Eretz Yisrael. Baruch Hashem, wonderful to have the Lerner brothers with us. So also with that, let us. It's great. No, but this is just like the drasha. It's fantastic. It's perfect. It's perfect. I'm used to this already. This is no problem. Come on.
This is much emotional. A couple shots will be fine.
I have a 4 disruption minimum per year, so it's all right. We're good. Where's the ice? Where's the ice? Okay, good. No, get it. Leave it there. No, keep it down there. All right, so let's, we're continuing Meretz Hashem tonight in the Rebbe. We're going to pick up with Ost Tes Vav, which is page 36. So the Piyash Nesna really has an incredible piece in store for us tonight. We didn't finish all of Yudalid. We kind of left off a few paragraphs short of the end, but we're gonna start with something new this year. Again, it's not new. It's all a continuation of that which we've been in front of Baruch Haba Rabbi Akiva. He's joining us as well. Welcome. Such a source to have you here. Baruch Hashem. Beautiful. 3 generations. It's some son. That's right. Baruch Hashem. The Zayda, the son-in-law, the Enokel. Beautiful. All right. I'll say with that, let us begin. Oz Tes Vav. So the Piyash Nesna says Nimtza Shezosi Tachlis Seinu B'Tachlis Chavra Seinu. So we'll say the Piyash Nesna says, what's a Tachlis, right? What is it? It's good, by the way, because every once in a while he reviews this with us a little bit, right? It reminds us. So what is our Tachlis, right? What is it exactly that we're working on? What's our avoda in this sefer? He says L'shach levas Machshava. We'll say, what's the goal? To expand thought. So again, remember, just for sake of review, so everything that the Piyash Nesna is teaching us is to stop only seeing with our eyes. Obviously, you have to see with your eyes also, but don't only see with your eyes. Right? There's a whole dimension of life that you can't see with your physical eyes, that you could only see with your neshama, that you could only see with your machshava. So the whole idea is so often in life we just get caught up that what you see is what you get. What you can perceive with your senses, that's what's real, and everything else is fictitious. And the truth is, there's nothing further from the truth. Often the most real things are the things that you can't see or perceive with your physical senses. So our entire avoda, our entire mission is to go ahead and expand thought, and by extension, lo tzia l'archiva lachaska, v'lo gilui hamachshava levaduzos, rak gam gilui hanefesh. And I will say, now the truth is, as much as we've been speaking about expansiveness of thought, we know that it's not really the machshava that we're trying to expand. Right? What is it ultimately that we're trying to expand? It's the neshama. Right? That's what we're trying to do. I must remember again, as the Piyash Nesna, in the beginning of the Sefer, life is this constant, ongoing struggle between body and soul. Constant, ongoing struggle. When does the struggle end? When you die. When you die. Or like, even when you're physically incapacitated, the struggle is still going on in some way. It's when we die. After 120, I die, that's when the struggle ends. But every single day up until that day, the struggle it's dramatic. And some days, some days, it's brutal. Some days it's an uphill battle to subdue the physical carnal in the face of the spiritual and elevated. So the Piyash Nesna says, when we speak about expanding thought isn't even the ends. Expanding thoughts is the means, ultimately, to expansion of the neshama. What am I trying to accomplish by expanding the neshama? I want my neshama to become the dominant part of who I am. I will say, a number of years ago in our pre-Daf Yomi, this was probably 2 cycles ago in Daf Yomi, we were learning a sefer called Da Es Atzmecha. After we finish, the problem is now the great thing is we're in the Hachseik cycle now, so I don't think they're stopping anytime soon with anything, but one day, after we go back and finish Tzidkas HaTzadik, which we left off in the middle of, right? So this sefer Da Es Atzmecha, which literally means know yourself, is probably one of the most profound svarim I've ever read in my life. The Machshava has a whole series. He has Das Yiladecha, Know Your Children. It's a sefer on chinuch. He has a sefer on marriage. In any event, what he writes at the beginning of Das Atzmecha, he says something very interesting. He seeks out the idea of creating identity. And he asks a simple question. He says, how do you identify? Now, I know this is a very loaded question. This is the second time today this is coming up, right? How do you identify? As an ant. Right? I'm sorry? As an ant without legs. Without legs, right? At least without one leg. Good. So I'll say, excellent. Excellent.
You could have identified as a New Jersey State Trooper.
I could. True. So I'll say, so now, how do I identify? So he says, am I a body with a neshama, or am I a neshama with a body? And I both say, you say that, you look to yourself, you're like, okay, it's semantics, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. What's dominant, right? What's primary, what's secondary? Am I a body with a neshama? What that means is, primarily I'm a body. I happen to be a body that is infused with some level of holiness and spirituality. Or conversely, no, I'm a soul that's housed by a body. which means my dominant identity is that I'm a neshama, but my neshama can't interact in this world without a guf. So therefore, the guf, the body, is the vehicle through which the neshama impacts the world. And I will say it's not a matter of semantics. It gets to the core of how we define ourselves. And you know what the Piaget is essentially saying? You know what it's really saying? How do most of us define ourselves? The reality is just like the de facto definition that we walk around life using. I'm a body with a soul. And that's why everything is driven by the senses. Right? And that's why reality is created by what I see. And that's why so often I just have difficulty resisting the things that the body wants because, hey, the body's got the upper hand. You know what the Piaget is trying to help us with? He's trying to make us into people who are souls that happen to be housed by a body. The goal is to change the whole orientation, to change the way that I see, to change my self-definition, to expand thought, but ultimately with the goal of expanding the neshama. He goes on, Gilui ushlitas ala guf. I want my neshama to be the dominant power over my body. You know what I'm saying? And I want to point out, and this is important. I will say in general, that one of the beautiful things in Chassidus is, in non-Chassidic streams, there are various different streams. So asceticism, right, and self-flagellation and punishing the body, fasting, plays a much greater role. One of the things that the Baal Shem Tov taught us was that you don't have to abuse the body in order to atone for sin. In other words, use the body in a different way. I want to point out over here, when the Piaget speaks about that asserting soulful mastery over the body, he does not mean achieving that by punishing the body, diminishing the body, depleting the body. The body is good. Physicality is good. Materialism is good. As long as materialism, the body and physicality is not the one in the driver's seat. In other words, the neshama has to be in the driver's seat. The neshama has to be in the driver's seat. And ultimately, again, let's say, it's so funny. So I have this rental. So whatever. I ran into I have a very good accountant. My accountant found me the legs, right? It's a rental. So I found there's a button. There's a button on there. So everybody has like their own, they could control their own, what do you call it? Temperature, right? And seats, and then there's like this master button on the driver's side where you could control everything. Right? No, I think you're slouching too much, right? We're gonna move you up a little bit. You know what? You don't need the heat that high. But it's such a power trip, right? It's like, and I will say, the truth is, I realize everything is for a purpose. That's the metaphor over here. In other words, whoever or whatever sits in the driver's seat controls everything else that's going on. So the challenge is that too often the body is in the driver's seat. And when the body's in the driver's seat, so it's soul, you don't need that much air conditioning, right? You don't need your seat that far back. You don't need the leg rest. It does have a leg rest, right? Right. You don't need the leg rest to come out. You don't need that. You don't need that. So I'll say, so what the Piaget says is, well, one second, if the body's in the driver's seat and it controls everything that's within a neshama, then I can't get anywhere in life. So the whole point is put the soul in the driver's seat. Again, the body is still going to be there. The body's still going to be cared for. And by the way, Chevra, if the soul is in the driver's seat, does that mean the soul is always in control? No. Why? Because as much as you have that soul as that master button, everybody's still got their own controls. So you may be able to course correct after you see someone do something wrong, but the body's still going to do it. I want to be clear. The Piaget is not giving us a recipe for the absolute total avoidance of sin. That's not the goal over here. The goal is to lead an elevated life. The goal is to become Bnai Machshava Tova. The goal is to become people who see life for what it truly is in its totality. It doesn't mean to live a sin-free life, right? Because sin is part of the fabric of the human condition. But what it means is to have the right entity, to have the right power in the driver's seat. He goes on. He says, "Umoshechas." Fine. Because remember, if the soul is in control, then tuchal la'alos madrega midargo ledargo al makomos asher lo sha'arta v'lo kivisa. I love this line. If the soul is in the driver's seat, then you know what? You could reach heights you never knew were possible. You could reach heights you never knew were possible. I'll say, it's true, like if you think about it in your mind's eye, if you think about like, what is the greatest level you think you could reach? It's an interesting question to ask ourselves in general, right? If someone were to ask me, which I'm asking, it's a good exercise. If I were to imagine the most incredible, best version of me, what does it look like? What does it look like? How does that version of me act? How does that version of me talk? How does that version of me daven? How does that version of me treat my wife? How does that version of me interact with my... What? So what's, what the Piyashatzna says? Whatever you have in your mind as that image of the best version of you, there's even more. There's even more. Because remember, when you're imagining that best version of you, which eyes are you imagining that through? My physical eyes. So by definition, it's going to be limited and stunted. But whatever. So and again, I must say that's like the ideal me. Whatever I think the ideal me is, I can actually even do more than that. He goes on. So I'll say, since our goal is to ultimately expose the soul, bring the soul, put the soul in the driver's seat. So I'll say, okay, so now I know what I want to do, right? I'll say, you know what I feel like in every share of the Piyashatzna? I feel like in every share, we get so close to like whatever the answer is, and then like we stop. Right? And it's almost as if that's the way like he writes the sefer. Like we go. Okay, what is it? Pull back. Right? What is it? Pull back. So I'll say, so he says something amazing. He says, so what's missing? So now, okay, I'm in. I want to be able to see not just with my eyes, but I want to be able to see the deeper dimension of life, right? Rabbi will say, again, I can't stop quoting Shalashuddis, right? I want to see the chariots of HaKadosh Baruch Hu running through. That's what I want. I want to be able to see that. I want to be able to experience that. Should be chair. Come. Show this. Welcome. Take something to eat, please. All right, so let's say, so again, so I want to be able to see all of that and experience all of that. So the Piyashatzna says, so how do you do it? Look what he says. He says, so what's missing? So he says, I'm sorry. צריכים אנו להסנהג בכל ענייננו הנהגות שמסוגלות es הנפש לסגלות. So he gives a very simple answer. What's the simple answer? Both saying, I have to engage in the behaviors that allow my soul to become exposed. And you're thinking to yourself, yeah, okay, I got, what is it? What is it? Just say it already, right? In other words, so the Piyashatzna says, what do you have to do? And both say, now, what he's telling us is that it's all about behavioral modification. In other words, what the Piyashatzna is saying is, see, this whole time we've been talking about what happens up here, or in here. But the Piyashatzna, and we saw this last year also, the Piyashatzna says, the way to affect change in how you think and how you see the world, ultimately leading to an expansiveness of the soul, is not through thinking, right? It's incredible. And it's not cognitive, and it's not even emotional. It's behavioral. It's identifying the behaviors that ultimately allow or lead to what we'll call soulful expansiveness. Harchavas hanefesh. It's behavioral. So I will say, now what is like the incredible news if it's behavioral? What's the incredible news? You could change it. See, I will say, the hardest part about cognitive or cognition, right, or cognitive components is what? It's very difficult to go ahead and control the way that you think, right? It is it's very hard to regulate thought. That's how I'll point out. It's very interesting. You'll notice that whenever in the Torah Kedosha there is a mitzvah about thought or emotion, there's almost always like another interpretation of the mitzvah. I'll give you the paradigmatic example of this. V'haftas Hashem Elokecha. What's the meaning of a mitzvah? V'haftas Hashem Elokecha. What is it? Love Hashem. What's the problem with the mitzvah of love Hashem?
How?
First of all, how do you legislate love? You must love me. You must love me. So what does Rashi HaKadosh say? Rashi says, no, it means aseh dvarav me'ahava. It means that when you perform the mitzvos out of a sense of love. Meaning what Rashi is saying is, the Haftas Hashem Elokecha is not emotional, and it's not cognitive, it's behavioral. That when you perform mitzvos, should be like whistle while you work, It should look like you love Hashem when you perform mitzvos. Now, 1 second. Do you love Hashem or don't I love Hashem? What's the answer? Yes, right? The answer is yes. And yes, sometimes I'm in love with Hashem, sometimes I'm not in love with Hashem. But guess what? You'll never be able to tell. You know why? Because when I serve Him, it's going to look like I love Him. Now, you'll say to yourself, 1 second, isn't that shallow? No, not at all. Because I will say, how do you shape feelings? You shape feelings through actions. This is something that's so simple, but yet it's so often missed. We think like emotions are something that occur. I will say that's why I like this lashon of falling in love, right? Falling in love is the greatest fiction ever visited upon mankind. No one falls in love. People fall in lust, right? People fall in desire. That could definitely happen. But love, it's like a Shabbat brachas word, but love, right? Love comes from action. Right? Love comes from doing for one another. Love comes from giving to one another. Love comes from investing in a relationship. So both say it's the paradigmatic. So that B'yafta Surah is no different. You want to love God? Fantastic. It doesn't start, okay, I'm ready. Bring it in, right? Bring it in. I'm doing my deep breathing, my cleansing breath. I am here by Hineni Muchan Muzuman to fall in love with God. Right? Okay, and I'm waiting. Now it feels right. Now it feels right. Good. No, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's, you know what? No. Right. You know what? No, it's fine. I'm telling you, it's good. It's good. Baruch Hashem. There's really, truth is, you want to come in? There's nothing more beautiful, Baruch Hashem, than the cacophony of Yiddish children. Like, it's something just so beautiful. It's the Netzches of Klal Yisrael. In any event, so we'll say, so what the Piaget's saying over here is as follows. So the goal of affecting cognitive and emotional change is through behavior. So now I have to identify what are the behaviors that lead to this mindfulness. What are the behaviors that lead to this expanded sense of Machshava? And ultimately, again, what are the behaviors that therefore lead to expanded soulfulness? That's our question. So we'll say that's it. So by the way, I just want to point out, like, this is a major thing. So we'll say, because I think one of the things that threw us in the beginning of this sefer, I was thinking about it. It's almost Pesach, and we were supposed to be done with this by Sukkot. But okay, I think maybe I meant next Sukkot. Thank you, Mrs. Ronnie. Thank you. Maybe, perhaps another Sukkot, a subsequent Sukkot. So I say, so what's been, I think, very challenging about this sefer is because since the Piagetz has been so focused on cognition and emotion, so it's been something we struggled with. Like, I learn these things, and then how do I actually put it into I was going to say, this is like a spiritual triathlon. I've got kids over here, ice over here, right? Mamish, it's great. No, it's good. It's like it builds my spiritual muscle. Good. If somebody wants to throw candy like it's an ufra, we could that could round it out. Let's say So what we struggled with so much at the beginning of the Sefer was he's talking all this stuff with thought, and I want it. I want to tap into it, but I don't know how. Now I'm going to tell you how. It's not about thought. It's about behaviors. Identify the behaviors that ultimately can lead us to the levels of cognition and emotional, spiritual expansion. So we'll say, so what's the first step? Here we go. We'll say, here it is. Number one, I underlined it in the sheets. If you have your own Sefer, underline it in your Sefer. Tinhag es atzmecha bepshitus utemimos bechol inyanecha. Wow. Piagetz says, be a pashat yid. Be a simple Jew. Be a simple Jew. Conduct yourself with pshitos. Pshitos, Rabbi say, means a simplicity. Temimos, which we'll just translate for now as an honesty in everything you do. Ki temimos hi memshalas hanefesh ala adon myself. Because Rabbi say, when a person is able to conduct themselves with a simplicity in life, that represents spiritual dominion or soulful dominion over the body. We'll say, hear this now. We don't yet know fully what this means exactly. But the Piagetna says, step number one, behavior number one, is not as much a behavior, but rather it is a way to behave. Behave with pashtos. Behave with simplicity. Be a tamim. Just be a simple, straightforward, honest individual. He says, va'armumios, if you skip down a little bit, let's actually skip to page 37. Just because of time. Skip to page 37. Well, actually, let's finish the paragraph that we just started. Va'armumios, he chosar nefesh. On the other hand, I will say, when you're a cunning individual, still back on page 36, right after the underline, when you're a cunning individual, he chosar nefesh. So we'll say, cunningness, cunningkeit? Cunning. Just cunning. I feel like you have to append something to the end of it, right? Cunningsity, right? Right. Good. A scheme, right? So I'll say, now, I just want to point out over here, if on one hand, so pshitos or pashtos means a simplicity. So ultimately, and what's armumius? It's non-simplicity. I guess we would call it complexity. See, usually armumius means something like crooked, like deceitful. But the truth is, the opposite of simplicity is not crookedness, right? The opposite of simplicity is not deceit. The opposite of simplicity is complexity. Don't be a complex person. No, right? The therapists are thinking, we tell this to people all the time, right? Don't be a complex person. Now, we'll say, so what is it, right? Do you ever say that? You should say that. It's a good line. It's good. Put it on the website. Okay. So listen to this. His mumius. Listen to this. He chosar. So now, what's the pshat? See, when a person is complex, that means the body is more dominant than the soul. Machshavas haseichel. Because again, see, what is it? We'll say, think about this just a moment. When in life do you have to be complex? Let's just play this out. When in life do you have to be complex? Often complexity sets in, you know what? We know when? When I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I will say, often, what's my reaction in times when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? What do? We justify, right? So that's where the armumius comes, the complexity. See, I will say, you have to understand something. People, no one wants to be in a state of wrong. And no one wants to be in a state of sin. I mentioned this before. Shmuel Hirsch brings down on the Chet Egel, the sin of the golden calf. He said, do you know why the Jews built the calf? Do you know why the Jews built the calf? He said, because they wanted immorality. That's what it was. He said, because they wanted immorality, but they didn't want to be on the wrong side of the law. So what do, right? It's a problem. Like, what do you do if you really want immorality, but yet your system says immorality is usher? So what do? Make a new system. In fact, Rav Shmuel Hirsch says the difference between avodah zarah and monotheism is in monotheism or Yiddishkeit. My job is to make myself in God's image. Avodah zarah is I make God in my image. I decide what I want. We'll say it's like the guy who shoots the arrow and then draws the target. Oh, look at bullseye. Bullseye, incredible, right? I got it right where I wanted to get it. That's what avodah zarah is. Avodah zarah is, what do you want? What do you want? Decide what you want. And after you decide what you want, we'll go ahead and create a system around what it is that you want so that you don't have to feel bad about yourself. So we'll say, so we do this all the time in life. We do this all the time in life. In other words, I know that I'm doing something wrong. So of course, and we all do things wrong. So what are you supposed to do when you do something wrong? What are you supposed to do? Right, fix it. Even before you fix it. Just own it. Just own it. Right? Even because Dov is the tzaddik. Dov is saying fix it. I'm not a tzaddik. So sometimes I will say, I'm not, right? You're a chassid. Oh, man, it's incredible. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. 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 So true. Go big or go home. Right? That's it. That's it. That's it. Beautiful. So I will say, so what happens? So Dov is saying, great, of course fix it. But a lot of times for us, we saw this in Piaget also, like, I'm not ready to fix stuff. I'm not ready to fix up for whatever the reason, but own it. Own it. In other words, it's okay. It's okay. We all live with a certain level of disconnect, right? We all, not, what's the word I'm looking for? Cognitive dissonance, but what do you call it? Lack of inconsistency. Thank you. Right? Incongruity. Good. We all live with a sense of incongruent inconsistency. No, that's too much. Right there.
We're not supposed to be complex.
We're not supposed to be complex. It's true. Pashtus. So we all live with. We'll keep it simple. We all live with inconsistency. So we'll say, but the goal in life is just acknowledge it. That's all. You're not ready to fix it? Okay. One day in Mirat Hashem, I'll get around to fix it. But just acknowledge it. The challenge is, deep down, I'm uncomfortable living with inconsistency. I'm uncomfortable. So how do I take care of that discomfort? What do? I just explain it away. And I suddenly go ahead and make the thing that is wrong into something that is right. And if I'm really good, not only is it right, it's a mitzvah. Right? Not only is it a mitzvah, if I'm really good, it's the Ratzon Hashem. Not only is it the Ratzon Hashem, but if I'm really good, even the Ribbon Shalom who was sitting here would give me a shkoyach for it. So I say, and it's so much energy, and it's so much time, and it's armumius, and it's complexity. It says to be a jesna. Just be pashut. See, people say, pashut doesn't mean I'm always doing the right thing. But pashut means I try to do the right thing, but when I don't do the right thing, I own it. But see, he goes on. He says, so we'll say, go to page 37 now. Take a look at page 37. So if you take a look at the second line in it, it says something amazing over here. It says, V'gama yeled, misnahig v'chol inyonov, b'pshitus utemimos kafi mitzios hanefesh b'spashtusta. Let's say, if you ever want to see, page 37, 3 lines down from the top. If you ever want to see the most incredible example of pashtus, of simplicity, well, so you know where you look? Children. Right? Children are the greatest example of pashtus. He goes on, he says, skip a little bit more. He goes and he says, it's actually on page 37, it's the did I underline? Yeah. So it's the underlined lines on page 37. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines down from the top, page 37, last 3 words on the line. Rabbi say, this is absolutely incredible. Scott, do you have it there? Kolchino?
It's underlined.
Okay. He's got his. Listen to this. Kolchino shel hayeletu. I will say, children have a chen, right? All children have a chen. I will say, chen is one of those words. I don't know how you translate that in English. Charm, right? Sweetness, a favor, right? In other words, chen. They just children just have. I will say, where does that chen come from? Hu al shu tamim upashit, because children, I will say, are simple. They're simple. They're not complex. There's a simplicity that's there. Ukishemedabrim imo margishim kilo im nafsho hayinu. I will say, I had this a few weeks ago. My granddaughter was over, and she was doing something that she was not supposed to do. And so, I had to tell her, which is like the worst thing. I did this already. I don't want to do this again. I put in my time telling kids not to do stuff, right? So, but no one was around. I had to step in over here. Otherwise, whatever. So, Esti, you can't do that. So you can't do it. So I say, you know what happens when you tell a little child you can't do something? So I saw it. The bottom lip starts to quiver, right? The quivering starts, looks down, holds her hands, and just begins to cry. Oh. I'm like, Bobby made me do it. I just want to point out, see, because a child has pashtos. See, what happens when a see, we'll say, what happens when an adult does something wrong? What happens when an adult, remember our story from last week? Right, what does an adult do? Not me, by the way. Matt Marks bumped me at Kiddush purposely this past week. He said, not me. So I didn't spill any wine. So like an adult, like I'm filled with armumius, right? So you get me a milk. Whoa! I know what this looks like, but no. Let me explain to you exactly what it is. A child. There's a pashtos. Okay, you got me. Right, fine, so I'm going to cry. You got me. There's a pashtos that's there. And I will say, says the Piagetno, that's the entire chen. Like the entire sweetness of a child is just the pashtos. He goes on, he says, Kishem edabrim imo, margishim kilum nafshem edabrim. Also, when you talk with a child, you feel that it's a genuine dialogue. You will say, one of the hardest things is kind of like we get older and have more life experience and see that sometimes people could really be, unfortunately, disingenuous and deceitful. So I'll say, what happens? You're having a conversation with someone. You ever have a conversation with someone and there's that little voice in the back of your head and it's going like, what's their angle? Right? What's their angle? Like, what does he want? Right? What does he want? Is he, working me over? Is he like what? What is it? And then you try to drown out that voice because you can't approach relationships like that because it's too cynical of a view on life and a view on people. But it surfaces and it resurfaces. You also know what the incredible part is? No one ever has that voice when they're talking to a child. Right? Isn't it incredible? Because I know I'm talking to genuinity, right? I know that I'm talking to pashtos, to simplicity, to honesty. Whether the child listens, doesn't listen, I don't know, right? But lamaisa, the dialogue is real. It's pashtos. It's pashtos. He goes on, it's kisholem osadavar. When you ask a child something, literally again, the question penetrates up until the soul. And that's it often, right? A child will give an honest and sincere answer. So says the Piazetzna. Now, what is he asking from us? To be like children? To be like children, to give up complex, complex adult intellectual thought? No. I'm not asking you to be a child. Rakshatiya tamim. I will say, be simple. Be simple. Now, again, the Piazetzna hasn't told us yet what that means. We'll say, look at the next line. Ulamashal. We'll say, here he gives some examples of this. Ulamashal. Kasheish alcha adam davar. We'll say, when somebody asks you a question, lo tachshov eich lashivo. Don't think about how to answer. Rather, again, don't think how to answer him in accordance with what does he want to hear, or how does he want to hear, or what's societal. You will say, do you know, right, the most difficult dynamic in contemporary society, the most difficult dynamic is political correctness. Right? Why, I will say, why? Because you can't say anything meaningful. Because you have to sparse your words. Because if I talk like this, you might think I'm going to say this. Or you might think I'm saying that. Or you might this. Or you might that. And I will say, so suddenly again, you have artificial dialogue that is so shallow because no one could just say, I don't mean saying disparaging things. That's not what I mean. Right? But just talking like just as regular people talk. But everything. I will say, you know where this comes like in the most like... Now, and again, only because it came up twice today, but like it really is like an incredulous thing. The whole thing now, like with pronouns and everything like that also, like I have to tell you, somebody told me a story this week that she was at work.